Brandon Graham, when he was playing, he got pressures, and those things cause problems for the offense. And do the Eagles have enough consistent pressure in the game? Because if they don't, the Cowboys do have weapons that they can be a problem.
Let's go to our main man, Mike Gill, set to join us now here on Birds 365 from 97.3 ESPN down the shore. You can listen to him down there or follow him on Twitter or YouTube at Mike Gill Show. And you can also listen to him on The Fanatic on the weekends up in Philadelphia. Mike, how you doing on this Wednesday morning, brother?
Good morning, boys. What's going on?
Michael, how are you? How ramped up are you for another NFL season? The Eagles get the start. You know what that means. The Super Bowl champions. Nick Sirianni, by the way. We started out with that. You think he's lying or not when he, some of these football guys, you don't know. They have very focused mentality. The banner question, which to me was a stupid question, but I buy it. First of all, I'm annoyed when Nick lies to you about players and will this guy start, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff I think is bad. Banner, I kind of buy it. Like, what? He doesn't give a shit.
No, I don't think I think he knows that it's happening. I don't think he cares. And I'm okay with that. Like, one of the things that has always annoyed all Eagles fans about Cowboy fans or Giant fans is they tell you about their past success. Don't be that guy. They won the Super Bowl. It's over with. Forget about it. It's on to a new season, because we saw what happened when they won the Super Bowl the last time. They got booed out of the joint by halftime. So you forgot about the Super Bowl that they won in 2017 in the first half hour of that game. That's the way that they should be looking at this. You won the Super Bowl in 2024. Your life is no different. Your bills still keep coming in. You still have problems. Yes, you had that Super Bowl, but don't be a Cowboy fan and let everybody know about it.
That's a good point.
I like Mike. I like the approach. I just don't like being lied to. I'd rather him come up and say, "It's banner night. We're not coming out. We're on a bigger and better thing. I'll see you after the banner drops."
Yeah, he knows the banner's coming down. There's no question about that. But you say we're not going to be out there.
Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it wouldn't surprise me. Now, don't get me wrong; it wouldn't surprise me if he knew and he was just lying. But it also would not surprise me, because those guys, I've been around enough football people to know they get hyper focused in the moment. It would not surprise. Like, nobody's coming up to Nick Sirianni in that building and saying, "Oh, you excited about the banner drop?"
That I agree with.
So it wouldn't shock me, is all I'm saying, if he didn't know.
I would say, how many of the guys are going to sneak down the tunnel to get a glimpse of it?
Boy, I don't think any of them.
No?
Well, first of all,
someone's going to come out and be like,
I'm sure some want to, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, some might want to, but
hey, listen,
they don't want to.
Just like a WWE character, man. They're playing the gimmick. They are playing the gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
They are into it right now.
What's interesting, if you go back to Super Bowl 52, and again, different regime, they had all the logos up and the championships, and they put them up in the facility and they put them up in the locker room. And they're obviously his first Super Bowl championship in franchise history. They're obviously excited and proud of it. And they got it all over the place. And to your point, Mike, they didn't start well. And Malcolm Jenkins one day was like, "Take that shit down. Take it down. Take it down. Take it out of the locker room." And they did.
Well, if you remember that game too, right? It was 6-3 at halftime. They ended up winning the game against Atlanta, but it was like 18-12. I think Foles threw for like 110 yards in the game.
Yeah.
It was an ugly game. I always feel that any time a Philadelphia sports team, and I can't speak for others because you don't watch them all, but in terms of like these banner ceremonies, who the bell ringer is, when you bring in the highest profile guy to ring the bell for the Sixers game, they always lose. Reggie White gets his jersey retired. You lost 42-0. All of these games where the energy is so high before the game, the team just can't match the energy in there, and they just crash and fall flat. It happens so often.
Yeah, well, to the Sixers, to your point about the Sixers, way back for old school Sixers fans, there was a famous musician by the name of Grover Washington Jr. That was their good luck charm. And every time they brought him in to play the saxophone national anthem, they would win. And I was, they won because they had Julius Erving and Andrew Toney and Maurice. That's why they won. They didn't win because.
Well, it was the Cape Scott, right? I mean, when they rolled around,
exactly.
God bless America, and that
exactly.
Essentially,
you win because you have a good team, not because somebody's ringing the bell.
I will say, when you have two good teams, it's hard when you have two teams. Now, I don't think the Eagles and Cowboys are on the same plane, but you have two professional teams that are. And if you are trying to match the intensity and the energy that you just got from the building, and you kind of can't get to that point,
right.
That's a factor. Now, I heard you talking before, John, about Dallas. I think a lot of people are looking at Dallas and just kind of snickering and laughing. They traded Parsons, and they weren't very good last year. And one of the reasons they weren't very good last year was they had a lot of injuries. I mean, they had a ton of injuries. They opened this game with pretty much a clean slate. I mean, you're not decimated. Like, the Eagles beat them last year. I think the combined score was like 75 to 13. They were decimated by injuries last year, which caused them to be just a complete joke. But this team is healthy, and they've added some weapons on offense to where you have questions on your defense.
Well, and John Machota, we had John Machota on yesterday, Mike. He's the Cowboy reporter for The Athletic. He brought up, in the last 25 years, some of the Cowboys' best seasons have come when the expectations are the absolute lowest. And right now, their win total, I think, in Vegas is like 6.5 or whatever. I don't know what it is. I'm not a betting man, but I know it's low. So I don't know. Just an interesting tidbit to keep an eye on. They do have some players, and they're healthy. Mike, training camp in the rear view, preseason in the rear view on the eve of week 1 here. What are you looking for tomorrow night coming into this game? Where do you think the best matchups in the game are for the Eagles?
Well, if you're Philadelphia, obviously you feel like you have matchups all over on your offense that you can take advantage of. You've got no Parsons out there, so where are they getting this consistent pass rush? Their pass rush should be okay. Running the football, you ran the ball all over them last year. They brought Clark in. They think that they're better at stopping the run now. I think their linebackers are a little weak. They're decent in the secondary, though, right? Their secondary is actually pretty good. So they have some pieces out there. So that'll be interesting to see where the Eagles kind of target on their defense. I don't know that they get consistent pass rush, though. The one thing you always feel like, this is why Parsons going to the Packers is a big move in the league, but I feel like Philadelphia can handle it because when anybody's best guy is an edge rusher, you feel like Philadelphia can handle that because their offensive line can kind of neutralize what you do best. In this situation, I don't think Dallas gets enough pass rush. And you wonder if the Eagles kind of lean a little bit more on the pass in this game, with Saquon Barkley, not being used as a decoy by anything here, but kind of scaling him back to start the season off. But the big matchups are on the defensive side of the ball. Who gets matched up with Pickens? If you got CeeDee Lamb on one side and Adoree Jackson's with Pickens, I would imagine the Cowboys are going to go to George Pickens a lot on that situation. I think if Sidney Brown is the safety in the game, I would imagine you're going to see a lot of Jake Ferguson getting involved in the game.
He's a good player too that people don't know about. Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, Ferguson's and he can change in the seam. I feel like he's one of those tight ends that is giving you some problems. The other area would be, do the Eagles, I think you guys were hinting on this, have enough pass rush? Do they have enough pass rush? I think everybody just is excited about Hunt, is excited about Smith. You got these two young guys. None of them have really performed over a full 17-game season. They gave you flashes in the playoffs. Smith a little longer the entire second half. Hunt played a lot in the second half of the season, but he really bursted on in the playoff run there. Can those guys give you 17 weeks of consistent pass rush? I'm not saying double-digit sacks. Can you get hurries? Can you get pressures? Can you put pressure on the team to make them make mistakes? That's why the Eagles were so good defensively last year. Sweat doesn't rack up 15 sacks, but he got pressures. Brandon Graham, when he was playing, he got pressures. And those things cause problems for the offense. And do the Eagles have enough consistent pressure in the game? Because if they don't, the Cowboys do have weapons that they can be a problem.
Yeah, we might see right away too, because John had indicated Nate Thomas, who's their swing tackle, is going to start at left tackle. So, that's a place where typically you'd say, all right, Josh is going to feast on that guy because he's done it in the past with backup tackles. You saw it at the Super Bowl with poor Joe Thuney, who's one of the best interior offensive linemen in football, but he ain't a left tackle, and Josh ate him for
Right.
lunch.
Hey, listen, and Jalen Hunt might be. Listen, he's a story that I don't think anybody can really account for. He was playing safety in the Ivy League 3 years ago, and now he is possibly your top pass rusher at the NFL level. When they drafted him in the third round, I think people thought that he was basically going to redshirt last year. Well, he ended up having to play, and not only did he have to play, he ended up playing well. This guy turned into like a Jordan Mailata story where you never saw it coming, and he turns into be one of the best pass rushers in the league with his athletic ability and his size and stature. I wouldn't be shocked, but we need to see it first.
Yeah, the ceiling is there, and that's why I say you're gonna get to see, because he's gonna have a chance. He's not going against one of the best left tackles in football in this game.
Right.
So,
and it wasn't like Jordan Mailata. They took a flyer on him in the 7th round. The Eagles saw enough from him that they said, we want you in the 3rd round, which means they saw something extra special. Mailata was 7th round. This guy, let's just take a shot. And he turns out to be an unbelievable story.
It doesn't always work. They saw that in Davion Taylor once, and it didn't work there. So it doesn't always work.
But that's the point is, they saw a guy who, Davion Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, was a guy who didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't play a lot because of his religious beliefs on like Friday nights during high school season. Yeah. So this was just a guy who had freakish talent and athletic ability, but just couldn't play at this level. Hunt, similar, freakish talent, athletic ability, started in the Ivy League as a safety. They transferred and ended up playing defensive end. Eagles take him in the 3rd round. Then he's making plays in the Super Bowl. Now you're asking him to replace Josh Sweat. That's a pretty quick trajectory.
No doubt about it. Little news here. Tom Pelissero just put out Trayvon Diggs is expected to play. Mike, before we talk about the Cowboys corners, I do want to talk about the Eagles corners, because I think, there's not many areas in this game where the Cowboys have the advantage over the Eagles, especially from a roster and a personnel standpoint. But I will say George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, maybe Kevontae Turpin, who Mike John Machota yesterday was talking about them trying to use more offensively in the passing game. I think that could give a little bit of problems for Adoree Jackson on the other side. Now, depending on how the Eagles corners line up, you do have Cooper and Quinion, but I don't think they're going to be lined up perfectly on CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens all night. What do you think of that matchup in this game?
Well, and Vic got asked on, I guess it was what day was that, Monday, about Quinion moving around, and he was saying some weeks, but maybe not this week, because they got 2 pretty good receivers. So if he has Pickens on the one side, he might not want to move him off Pickens. But I think that matchup is, if you're the Cowboys, you're trying to find every way possible that we can find where Adoree Jackson is, and especially if Sidney Brown's on the field. If Makuba's out there, he has shown a little bit already in the preseason. He's got a knack for being around the ball. And I'm not saying they wouldn't say, oh, there's Makuba, we're not going his way. But if Sidney Brown's out there, he has shown a propensity in his limited time to be an over-aggressive safety that you can take shots on him. And I would be worried if I'm the Eagles that they would find where he is on the field and do a lot of seam stuff and try to get guys matched up. Blue, the running back, the rookie that they grabbed, he's a guy that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Explosive, probably in the pass game, could use him there. Javonte Williams is another guy from Denver, catches the ball pretty well. So I know it sounds like whoa, this Cowboys team, they got some weapons on offense. And, Dak Prescott, when he plays, they're not bad. When they had to go to Cooper Rush in the past, that's been a problem for them. But, a couple of years ago, Dak Prescott was having an MVP start to their season. Their defense was so bad, and then he ended up getting hurt. Now, last year he ends up getting hurt, and the whole season falls apart. But, when Dak's out there with now, this is probably the best group of receivers that he has ever had, right? I mean, you have now Pickens.
Well, he's had some good ones. They've, Amari Cooper was there. Michael Gallup at one point was really an ascending player before he got hurt.
These guys, John, complement each other really well. Pickens is a downfield big play guy. CD does it everywhere. He can catch the ball. You can move him into the slot. He catches the ball short, makes big plays. So they have a good complement here.
Yeah, by the way, to point about Dak Prescott, so because, hey, the Eagles win, and that's what everybody defaults to with Jalen Hurts, and everybody points to the playoffs. Well, in the regular season, Dak Prescott is 33-8 against the NFC East since entering the NFL. 33-8. So for all
Pretty
the
dominant record. Got to tip your cap there.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a team that's not too far removed from having 13-win seasons. Now, their laughing point comes in the playoffs. If they had their problems in the playoffs, but they have generally taken care when healthy, they have taken care of business in the regular season. They have faltered in playoff games. So,
yes,
I think their bigger question will be, is the offensive line fixed? They drafted on the offensive line. Are those guys able to step in? The Cowboys have had good offensive lines in the past. It deteriorated. I think they took a little too long to make decisions, and some of those guys broke down and their line fell apart. They now addressed it in the draft. Are those guys ready to help out? And then defensively, where are they going to get enough pass rush without Micah Parsons? They did not have pass rush without him last year. But one of the things that Jerry Jones said is, we got to stop the run and get the ball back to the guys I paid money to. Does Kenny Clark allow them to be this run-stuffing juggernaut? Probably not. Are they going to be an upgraded team in stopping the run from where they were a year ago? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I would say this about the Cowboys, and I said it to Zander. I don't know if you were in the green room at that point, Mike, but if I said, all right, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, or Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon, Donovan Ezeraku. I'm gonna lean to the other side, Mike Gill.
Well, the Eagles certainly have less track record. I mean, Ezeraku's a rookie, so you don't know what you're getting from him. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, as we talked about, Hunt is playing for the first time. I mean, he's literally going to be a starter for the first time from Jump Street. Nolan Smith, remember, he started most of the year last year. I don't think we were talking about some great pass rusher for the first 9 weeks of the season. It really didn't happen until that second half of the year. The light kind of came on from him.
Yeah. I don't worry about Nolan. Well, I do worry about Nolan from the perspective of can he hold up?
Right. That's what I'm worried with him.
That's the one thing with Nolan. If over 17 games, can he be a consistent pass rusher week in and week out? And that doesn't mean he's getting a sack or 2.5 sacks every week. Just where is he on the field? We've got a game plan for him. He draws attention, and by him drawing attention, that allows other people to kind of – now, you have Jalen Carter, who obviously draws a lot of the attention there. Can Jalix Hunt benefit from that? You're hoping so. I mean, that's the big part of this whole game is the guy next to me, what does he do for me to help me become better?
Do you guys think the Eagles have modified their approach to the edge rushers? And what I mean is they maybe don't need or want these big name edge rushers that get after the quarterback. I think they're more focused on set the edge, play your position well, and if sacks come, great. But it's more important for you to play your role on the outside so that you can open things up for the interior pass rush. Now, I don't know if that's their approach, but part of me thinks if Howie wanted a big name edge rusher, we'd have it. He's gotten everything else he's wanted for this football team, including a running back and linebackers now, for crying out loud. Do you think they've modified maybe what they want out of their edge rushers, which is why they're confident in Nolan and Jalix coming in? Because maybe they don't want them to be 12 sack guys. They just want them to set the edge and play the run and play their position properly. Is that fair to say, or do you think I'm reaching?
Well, when you're watching the team when you have Jalen Carter, that allows you to maybe shift that because he gets such push up the middle that now he becomes almost like when Aaron Donald was, where he's the pass rush, he pushes, and then those guys on the outside, they're not getting 15 sacks, they're getting 8 sacks, but they set the edge. They are the guy because Carter pushes so much. Now, the one thing is, if Hunt and Smith don't do what Sweat and Brandon Graham and Hassan Reddick, when he was here, were able to do, how much does that affect everything? Because you don't have Darius Slay back there anymore. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's not back there to kind of pick off a couple passes. So Jalen Carter is going to have a big, as we all know, this isn't crazy, but he's going to have a big effect on all of this year to see how good those two guys rushing the passer are. But yeah, they might have shifted their focus from, hey, we're an interior pass rush team from it, and as opposed to getting it from the outside.
Well, I think to that it's yes and no based on what they have at the moment. In other words, if they have, they like paying good players, great players.
Right.
So if they had a great edge rusher, if they drafted Micah Parsons, trust me, he wouldn't be in Green Bay.
Instead of Jalen Carter, yeah.
They would have paid him. That to me, so have they shifted from the, all right, let's take advantage of what we have, which is what they think is a great interior. Yes, in the moment. But I've talked to those offensive linemen too much over the years, and there are certain guys, very few, that they name protections after. And the guy who left is one of them. Myles Garrett is one of them. Aaron Donald was one of them. Yeah, if he was here, they pay him. So that to me is so, yes, they changed their philosophy to take advantage of what they have in the moment.
Yeah.
But if they
that's essentially what I was saying. You have Jalen Carter, so you can now shift because you have this player that's getting you pass rush from a different area of the field.
But that also could force you into, because you know you're going to pay Jalen, the real conversation with it might be, well, we're not going to be able to pay an edge that good. So maybe we should alter what we're expecting of our edge rushers to optimize, pressure up the middle. Because once we pay Carter, I mean, hey, maybe they would. I didn't think they were going to pay two receivers the way they did, and they ended up doing it. Maybe they would pay an edge rusher too, but I think they're really doubling down. And I do agree, John and Mike, it's probably circumstantial because they ended up with Jalen Carter. But I don't know. I'll ask both of you. What's tougher for a quarterback to deal with? Pressure on the edge or pressure up the middle?
Up the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, I would generally say up the middle.
Yeah,
I mean,
up the middle. Brady used to say that.
Right. Whenever guys, the true greats of the game struggled, it was generally when they had pressure in their face. I mean,
right in your face. Yeah. That's right.
And look, Jalen Carter is one of the best in the game. The interesting thing for me, sometimes you get to a point where you're just taking for granted that you're going to be good. I'm interested to see, does Jalen Carter in year 2 to year 3 now take another big step forward? Like, what's the next evolution of him? Because I can't imagine this is it for him. He's got to get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, they need him to get better. They want him to get better. I think you're right, though, Mike. There's assumption that he's going to get better. He was a second-team All-Pro. I think if he's not a first-team All-Pro, if he's not in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, I think there's going to be somewhat disappointed. That's how high the expectations are. And I think maybe those expectations are a little bit too high. But he's still a very young player. Yeah. And, that's part of it when he came out. He's very, very young guy, very shy, still learning how to be a professional. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to click, but he's got such immense talent. He's the most talented Eagles defensive player they've had in decades, just from raw talent.
Yeah, especially across the defensive line. Linebacker, certainly nobody in that conversation. I'm
talking since Reggie White. Like, he's pure talent. Not saying he's going to reach that level. Pure talent. They have not had a player like this for a very long time, who's in the conversation, if he hits his ceiling, to be that guy. Right. Like, for years, J.J. Watt, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. TJ, what a family. Those types of players. Aaron Donald, he's got a chance to be those types of players who are consistently in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Can he hit it this early? Maybe not, but I think eventually the goal is for him to hit it.
Right. Which is
definitely the
one of the things that, a couple of weeks ago, I had said, can Zach Bond be the same player or better than he was last year? Can Cooper DeJean be the same or better? Can Quinyon Mitchell be the same or better? These guys are all players that have 1 year of track record doing what they have done. in the NFL, it's hard to be a consistent player.
Yeah, it's not linear, man. It doesn't. Yeah.
It's hard. And Jalen Carter was good his first year, not great. Last year, you would say he was great. Now, can he become elite?
Yeah, which is a tough bar to clear. And Vic has kind of said, look, he made second team All Pro, and he doesn't even really know how to play the position yet. That's kind of the upside of Jalen Carter. But, I do think, to your point, you brought to the great listeners of Birds 365, you brought the other side pretty consistently, Mike, that it isn't linear and it's not a natural progression of up, up, up. Usually it's an EKG, might be up, might be down, might be up, might be down. But the truly great players, they have that consistent level, and they're rare. They're very rare. But Jalen Carter has an opportunity to be that, and he better be that for this team, to be honest.
I mean, I will say, I think Quinion seemingly is a very level-headed. I don't see I feel like what we saw from him was the real deal last year. So I do think he's not going to have a fall. Cooper, similar. I just hope that, all the offseason stuff, he's got his new cereal out now. I hope not all that.
It is a lot. It is a lot. I know they have a lot.
And listen, they're putting a lot of trust in him to learn how to play multiple positions. So they obviously see what we all saw last year. This guy, he's a guy. He's a man. He's a stud. And Vaughn, I mean, it's just mind-boggling that he did what he did last year. And it's not like he was a rookie last year and did this. It was like, hey, a 5th-round pick. And he's been in the league and never reached close to these heights before. So,
I blame the Saints for that, because that dude can play. I'm like, what do you, I don't know what the Saints were looking at. But I don't have too much concern about Zach Vaughn, other than I don't know if he can reach the level of last year from a playmaking standpoint, splash plays, simply because he's going to have more on his plate without Nakobe. He's going to have to be, the leader, the guy getting everybody lined up correctly, and that might affect some of the splash plays, but he's just a good player. I don't worry about him from an efficiency standpoint.
I guess that's another question in this, season, at least for the first couple of weeks. Is Jahad Campbell next to Vaughn actually an upgrade, or is that an area where you're like, no, they're not better there?
Well, Nakobe Dean was damn good last year. I mean, Jahad is a bigger upside. There's no doubt about that. But game one of his career, I don't know if he's going to be better than Nakobe Dean was last year.
Well, I think the biggest part is Nakobe was the Mike and Zach was the Will. So exactly. Nakobe was, and now Zach has to be the Mike, and Jahad's going to be the Will. So I think from right off the bat, it's not just two guys. You have Zach moving positions because Jahad's not ready to play middle linebacker. So it's not just an apples to apples Campbell versus Dean, although I think people will look at it like that way.
Well,
is that the right move, John?
What does that do for Vaughn? How does that affect?
I mean, is that the right move?
It puts more on his plate. What I was saying,
you want Trotter to play the Mike and keep Vaughn, who was a first-team All-Freaking.
I've said pretty consistently on the show, I'd like to keep Zach at will, where he has more ability to roam and do different things, but they need him at middle linebacker, and that's what he played late last season after Nakobe got hurt. So they won the Super Bowl with him playing middle linebacker. Warren Burks came in and played phenomenally as well. So he's already done it. He can do it. And he was making plays in that playoff run. But I think over an 18-week season, or all that responsibility, who knows? Nakobe says he's going to be back in week 5. That's going to be interesting if that comes to fruition. And that'll depend on how Jahad is playing, basically. But I do think Jahad Campbell gives you different abilities, especially in the red zone. I think you're going to see more blitzing, maybe in backed up situations. Now, the worry is coverage. He does not look like a natural coverage player. Are people going to take advantage of it? Talk about good tight end. If he's got to get Ferguson in coverage, can he handle that? I don't know.
Mhm.
We're going to see. But great athlete, but probably going to be a learning curve, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. Mike, last couple questions for you here. Appreciate you doing it today. One day on the eve until the NFL kicks off for the 2025 season. Offensively, Mike, what are you expecting to see from the Eagles in this matchup? Is it a ground and pound, what they did last year, a little more passing? First game for Kevin Patullo. What are you expecting to see out there, Mike?
Well, Kevin Patullo's background is as a pass game coordinator. I mean, so I would imagine that we will see a little bit more wrinkle in the pass game this year. They've added a lot of depth to the wide receiver position. They certainly have more intriguing options there. When you have Brown and Smith, we know those two. Dotson now a full camp here. Darius Cooper, everybody is kind of intrigued by what this kid can bring to the table. Then you go out and trade for John Mechie. So you have 5 interesting wide receivers, 2 of them being absolutely 1 and 1A level players. And then the next group of them all kind of do some things that you're intrigued by. So they probably have the ability to add some more wrinkles in the pass game that they just could not really. Dotson was just kind of getting his feet wet. We saw more of him in the playoffs last year. But after that, they just really had no options. Johnny Wilson was more of a blocking guy. He's not here. How does that affect their run game as well as it went last year? So I do expect them to have a little bit more flair, a little bit more wrinkle in the pass game this year. Doesn't mean that Saquon Barkley is going to take a massive step back. But I would imagine, just a hunch, probably not getting 2,000 yards again. So what does that say about what their run game is going to be if he's a, I don't know, 1,500 yard back instead of a 2,000 yard back? I mean, is that crazy to say that he might be 500 yards less from what he had last year?
I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy, but I think that will depend, believe it or not, more on the defense. Like, are they playing from behind or are they playing from the lead?
True.
If they're playing from the lead, he's going to get the ball.
Said last year, like I said, oh man, you're paying him the kind of money you're paying a running back. He's got to be like a 1,700 yard, like total offense kind of guy. Well, he gets 2,000 yards, and you're like,
yeah,
okay.
That was my prediction. I get shit on, Mike. That was my prediction: 1,700 yards.
Sometimes it's the way you say it, John. It's not what you say; it's the way you say it.
That's what I said when they signed him. I said, when you sign him, you got to be thinking, this is a 1,700 yard total offense type of player. And he goes out and does what he does. So I think if he would have had 1,500 rushing yards last year and like another 250 in the receiving game, you would have said, man, that was an awesome year.
Good season. Yeah, that's a great season, which was my point. Yeah.
What are you visualizing that Saquon gives you this year in total yardage?
All I'll say is he's looked better this summer than he did last summer, which should be frighten the NFL. He's looked much better this summer than he looked last summer. But
take an over under 1,700 total yards.
Total yards in the regular season?
Yeah.
Total yards? So we're counting receiving? I'm going to go over that.
Okay.
I got bit by that once.
About 1,500 rushing yards and another 250.
I think
get a lot. It just doesn't get a lot in the pass game. That's all.
Yeah. Well, he's not a great receiver. I tried to talk
people off
that.
So if you got 1,500 yards rushing, somewhere in that range, and like another 200 passing, about 1,700 yards. So right around 17.
I'll tell you what, Mike. If Will Shipley was on a team that got the ball to its running backs in the passing game, he'd be one of those guys that could catch 60, 70 passes.
Yeah,
he is a big time receiver.
Breece Hall is going to be the guy this year. He's going to be catching the ball all over the place.
Yeah. Those old school teams that would get it to their running backs all the time.
Yeah.
Roger Craig,
Yeah, well, Justin Fields is just going to be swinging it out of the backfield to him all day long. But that's the kind of back.
It's not.
That's the kind of back you're talking about with Shipley, where he can kind of sneak out of the backfield and just catch a lot of balls, and then
not really Jalen
work on you in space.
I don't think it's a knock on him. I just
I don't think it's
able to run around everybody. He
doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to dump it off to the running back. So it's not a criticism. I think I'm just saying if he was in that type of offense where you had a receiver, like like Phillip Rivers, who Nick loves. I mean, just dump it off to the back. He can't run.
You dump it off to the back because one of the reasons is they get one-on-one, and it's hard to tackle those guys in the open field, and you just let them make a man miss. I mean, Austin Eckler, he was a nightmare in L.A. with the Chargers, or when it was in San Diego.
A lot of those guys.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys.
Eckler's going to have a big year this year, though. I think they traded Robinson. I think Eckler.
I don't know.
You're not allowed to say good things about the Commanders. They're too old, Mike. They're too
bullshit. John Machota was money yesterday on the Commanders. I loved it. He's like, I've been covering this game long enough to know you got to do it more than 1 year.
That I agree with. I'm surprised because Dan Quinn was down there. Dan Quinn's a good coach.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are very talented. Their schedule is brutal, just like all the NFC East teams. They feasted on a very, very light.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's why I'm high on the 49ers this year, Mike.
Yeah. I look at the Commanders and wonder, and look, that's one of the older rosters in the league. Can they stay healthy through a full season? I think the Commanders, win-wise, probably take a step back.
That quarterback's going to be a effing problem for the NFC East for a long time.
Yeah.
Barring injury, but that's baked into everybody.
Yeah. Mike, thanks for joining today, man. We appreciate it. Make sure you guys follow Mike at Mike Gill Show. Go and subscribe to his YouTube channel right now at Mike Gill Show. And listen to him at 97.3 ESPN down the shore, 97.5 The Fanatic on the weekends. Mike, thanks for doing it today, brother. Enjoy the NFL season opener. The fun begins tomorrow, Mike.
Yes, indeed. Tomorrow, crazy day. You got Phillies at 4:00, Eagles at 8:20. It's just it's that time of the year. The equinox is about to happen.
Yes, sir. Mike, thank you, man. Appreciate it.